Is the brand new film from Universal that just hit theaters today. The film's directed by the great Steven Spielberg, whose last film was 2023's The Fabelmans. This movie is also written by David Koepp, who's teamed up with Spielberg before on films like Jurassic Park and Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. This movie stars Emily Blunt as Margaret Fairchild, a weather reporter in Kansas City, who out of the blue, one day during her live on-air spot about the weather, she begins to speak alien gibberish. No one really knows what's going on. She doesn't really know what's going on, but she doesn't understand if it is a power that she has or a potential gift. At the same time, we're following Josh O'Connor as Dr. Daniel Kellner and Eve Hewson as Jane Blankenship, as they are possibly stealing away important details about what the government is hiding about aliens. Chasing after them is the leader of this government-run facility, Noah Scanlon, played by Colin Firth. Also, Coleman Domingo stars as Hugo Wakefield, who's trying to help Daniel and Jane get to the ultimate destination. And Wyatt Russell is also in the film as Margaret's long-term boyfriend. The film is 2 hours and 25 minutes and is PG-13. Welcome back, everyone, to a brand new review here at Max Talks Movies. My name is Max Dinnenberg, and today we're talking about the highly anticipated Disclosure Day. Steven Spielberg, one of, if not probably is the greatest filmmaker to ever live. But he hasn't made really a big movie like this since Ready Player One back in 2018. The Fabelmans, West Side Story, crashed and burned at the box office. So he goes back to his roots, one of his rare alien films since Close Encounters, War of the Worlds, and E.T. So the fact that he's going back in alien, sci-fi-esque realm got a lot of people excited, including myself, even though I didn't love the trailers for this movie. And I will say this is, and I said this in my out-of-theater reaction, but this is the most frustrating good movie of the entire year. This movie was really close, in my opinion, to being a great movie, one of the best films of 2026 level stuff, but I think a lot of things limit it, in my opinion. But I want to start with the things that really did work in this movie, and that honestly is being back in the theater watching a Steven Spielberg movie, especially when it's about something like aliens, because what Steven Spielberg has mastered more than any filmmaker in the history of cinema is what you're watching on screen, you're in awe, you're in amazement. If that happened in Jaws, Jurassic Park, E.T., Close Encounters, he does such a great job where you're just, your jaw's on the ground, you're just awestruck by what you're watching on screen. And he brings that out once again here in Disclosure Day. Also, the combination of Steven Spielberg and John Williams, I think it's the greatest cinematic duo, working duo of all time. Nothing really makes you feel like a kid again unless you're watching a Steven Spielberg movie scored by John Williams. The score, I think, is immaculate in this film. I can't wait to listen to it for the next couple months to come, because I think it's a really excellent score. But Spielberg does a great job with scale in this movie. This movie is not about aliens themselves and watching alien action set pieces. This is a movie that has like 2 or 3, I would say, action set pieces. This movie is a lot more about the conversation and really what would happen how would humans take one day they're watching the news and aliens are real. And not just that, the government has been hiding it from us for decades. 50, 60, 100 years, they've been hiding it. How would we react to it? And I thought he did a really good job not really focusing on the spectacle of the aliens themselves, but really the spectacle is, or the creatures. The spectacle in this movie is the idea of if this idea is presented and it's true to our society, how would different people take that? We follow Eve Hewson in the movie, who's Jane, who used to be a nun, so she kind of has this religious angle on the movie. I thought that was an interesting angle. They have these different fascinating angles from different perspectives on how they would react if something like this would be real. And I thought Spielberg really captured the imagination, the horror, the excitement of something like this possibly happening in our world. I think it's very well made. The acting, I think, is pretty strong as well. Emily Blunt, for me, so far this year, has delivered the best performance of the year. This is male or female. She has a lot put on her table for this performance because she has to be very comedic at times. She has to be very dramatic, very anxious, very nervous, kind of out of control. All those things go into this performance because she, for some reason, she has particular abilities. I'll just say that. It's not shown in the trailers. I'm not going to say it to you guys here so I don't spoil anything for you guys. But she has an ability, as you can tell in the trailers, and she doesn't really understand if this ability is a good thing, a bad thing, a curse, a gift. And really it's on the page, sure, but really shown through her amazing performance. Just her facial movements, like sometimes she's like happy to give out some particular information, sometimes she's like petrified to say something to someone. She is so amazing in this movie and deserves all the flowers that she's been getting from really everyone who has seen this movie. The whole ensemble, I think, is pretty strong. Eve Hewson, I think, is someone to watch. She's really solid, I think, in this movie. Colman Domingo, his character is the perfect example of Colman Domingo brought a lot more to that character than really was on the page. There's not a lot on the page for that character, but Colman Domingo is such a terrific actor. He really brought that to the table. The action set pieces, when there are action set pieces, I think are really good, especially the train sequence, I think is great. There's a car chase that I thought was really good as well. But for me, what really holds this back from being a great movie is the screenplay from David Koepp. This is a film that you are really only connected to one character, in my opinion, and that is Margaret, played by Emily Blunt. But there are a lot of characters who have major impacts on the film. Josh O'Connor, Colin Firth, Eve Hewson, and Colman Domingo. And I just felt like outside of Emily Blunt, no character in this film has much depth. And I think if there wasn't going to be much depth to any character, the character that really needed it is Josh O'Connor as Daniel. He is essential to the movie, especially in the first half of the movie. His character becomes much more on the sidelines as the film goes on, but especially in the first 45 to an hour of the film, he really is the lead character. But the biggest problem for this movie is Josh O'Connor, who's a good actor. I think he's good in the movie. I don't think he's great or anything, but I think he's good. His problem is what's on the page. This character feels like more like a plot device than an actual like human being that you care about throughout the entire film. His character is there to deliver so much exposition because we, as the audience, needs to understand what obviously is going on. His character is there to explain it. But his character has so many plot conveniences throughout the film. There's a bit where he's trying to like escape away from people, and it's so obvious. I don't know how people didn't see he was like right behind them. But for me, his character is just a plot device that feels less and less important as the movie goes on. And if I cared at all about Josh O'Connor's character, I think this movie would have been a home run. But I just, from an emotional perspective, couldn't care less about this character. He was very one-dimensional. And as I said, it was very much just a plot device. This movie also has a lot of plot conveniences. There was a point where our villainous character, they're trying to kidnap, I'll just say one person throughout the entire film. And this person just walks right into their lap and then leaves without any fight back from our villains. And then they go back on the run and our villains are like, all right, we got to go get this person. I was like, you just had this person in your own facility. You could have just kidnapped the person there, but instead you let the person walk out for some reason. There were a couple, like 2 or 3 major plot conveniences that made absolutely no sense. And they had to happen for the movie to continue on, but the screenplay had no creative idea to get it to that place. So this to me all comes down to the screenplay. This movie has amazing top Spielberg sequences or scenes, but as a whole, I think the script is okay. I think they tried to tackle a lot of different things, religion, how political stuff, how human beings today with social media would react to something like this. Then for a movie that's 2.5 hours, I just thought this movie had a lot more time on its hand to give more character depth to the majority of the characters in the movie. But I only found myself caring about Emily Blunt, and I think that really hurts this movie for being like a top tier Spielberg movie. But I still thought it was a very strong effort. I thought it's a very solid movie. I wish it was one of the better movies of the year. So I'm giving Disclosure Day, which just came out this past Friday, a 3.5 out of 5, guys. I am going to go 74% for Disclosure Day. What are your guys' thoughts on this movie? Let me know down in the comments. Like this video, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and I'll see you guys in another video very soon.